Welcome back to another episode of the On Deck Circle podcast. I am your host, Nick Z, with my new nickname, the Italian Breakfast. I'm pretty sure I'm older than Vinny P, so that is now my name. I am
seniority.
Vinny P. I guess. I don't know. Jason, welcome back. Pleasure as always.
Of course.
It's time for my favorite part of the week, which is the cold open part of the week, and it has to do with my nickname. I'm not going to ask you about your childhood nickname or anything. I'm going to ask you, you get 3 things on your breakfast plate. What are they? Ready, set, play the music. All righty, Jason.
This is an easy one.
Okay.
I'm a big breakfast food guy.
Good.
Love breakfast foods. We have breakfast for dinner multiple times a month.
Okay.
I need some clarification on this from your honor. So does an eggs Benedict, does that count as one item, or is that like all 3 items right there?
I'm gonna count that as one item because that's like a part of but like you can't. So that's like your main.
Okay.
And 2 sides. I guess I should have said what's your main and what's your 2 sides.
Okay. First off, shout out to this local place here, Honey Jam. The other day I went, they had eggs Benedict, but instead of ham, it was smoked salmon. Chef's kiss.
Wow.
So I'm gonna go with that as my main. Sausage and toast with jelly.
What kind of toast? White? Wheat?
We'll go multi-grain.
Okay. Oh, look at you being all healthy.
Yeah.
What a boy, Jason.
And it's got to be a little bit of butter and then grape jelly. Jelly.
All right. I like that.
What's your go-to?
I don't eat breakfast.
That's a lie. No, Never, ever?
No, I always. Does brunch count? I'm a big brunch guy.
Yeah, we'll go brunch. Because, I mean, honestly, most people eat brunch over just breakfast. You know what I mean?
Waffles. Chicken and waffles is my go-to.
Yeah, that's a great one, too.
And do you want to know what else is my go-to for my fantasy needs?
What's that?
Fantrax.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a great segue because, if you need more customizable settings for your fantasy baseball league, then you need to try out Fantrax. You can create an account today at fantrax.com/fantasy six-pack. You can see what you've been missing. I know you're like me, I probably say 90% of my leagues are ran on Fantrax, and that includes anything from, I got a couple of redrafts on there, most of my dynasty leagues. And right now, we'll be kicking off next week is the Fantasy Six-Pack Series. That's all hosted over there on Fantrax. It allows us to have 11 different divisions within one league. So,
is that draft next? Should I already know that?
It's the 8th, so 2 weeks, a week from Monday.
Yeah, nice. It's draft season, Jason. I'm very excited.
Draft season is about ready to start gearing up. We got about, I'd say beginning of March. So next week, a lot of drafts are kicking off, including TGFBI, Fantasy Six-Pack Series, the Raz Slam kicks off. Draft season is officially underway next week for sure.
Yeah, I've got that Nerf one.
Oh, yeah.
In late March. I am terrified, Jason. I just got added to like the Twitter group, and like there's a timer. We're in person.
Yep.
There's it's like 2 minutes, I think they said.
I know it's fast. I've heard it's fast, and this is like there's rules, right? Like there's no electronics, there's no phones or computers to help you.
I'm coming in with I think I need to buy a binder, hole punch, put all my notes in it. But I can't do this. I'm not cut out for this.
I know. As somewhat of a traditionalist, I do like the idea and the concept behind it, because there's something to be said when you're put in under that 2-minute clock, where everyone's so used to nowadays, especially in Dynasty, right? Like there's slow drafts. Everyone just slow drafts. But when you're under that gun of that 2-minute countdown and you're trying to debate between your 3rd and 4th outfielder, and all you got to look at is your rankings that you've printed out beforehand.
And then I had fucking Cross sitting next to me. Everyone sitting next to me. All these other guys that are real people that like know what they're like. I'm probably the youngest in it.
Like the novice of the group.
Yeah. I'm just there to learn. It's at
When is that draft?
The end of the month. I think it's the 15th, so not the end of the month. But
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you still got a couple weeks to prepare.
Oh yeah, I still got my spreadsheets. I'm on second base, which is funny. I am amazing at segues today.
Yeah, you are.
What second base?
Yeah, today we're going to continue our position previews. Just continue around that horn. Last week was first base. We reached out to Tristan Cass's people, still did not get back, so he will not be joining us today. But we will get on to our second basemen. One guy we're higher on, one guy we're lower on, and then a prospect to keep in mind, whether it's, trade or drafts or whatnot. But we're continuing the same trend of last couple weeks, and we're going to go with our guys we're higher on, we value higher than most. And we'll go ahead with your guy first, and why don't you tell us a little about him?
All right. I really wish I could tell you how to say it. Is it Thairo?
I think it's Thairo.
Okay. Estrada, a second baseman for the
Exactly.
Giants, is somebody that I'm gonna cite someone that I don't necessarily like. His name is also Jason, but he is in a league of mine, and he's not someone that I genuinely get along with. But last year, I offered him like a trade. I was trading like my second baseman. He was like, "No, I've got this guy," and I was like, "Dude, he's a jabroni. Who the hell is he?" Like I was wrong, and I'm willing to say that. And thank God he's not a listener, because I will admit that I was wrong. But this year, my gosh, I am so. I can't use the word excited because this guy isn't like Ozzy Albies. But what he does bring you is so important, and what he doesn't bring you won't hurt you, which is that's kind of been my theme for these that we've been doing. I'm not doing like the sleeper or like the breakout. These are guys that if you're into like a platoon, if Estrada is your like platoon second baseman, you're going to be in great shape. Because last year he hit 14 home runs, which is like, for a second baseman, I think it was top 15 if I remember correctly, but I do not want to be incorrect. So maybe 15. Stole 21 bases. That is, if he gets 4 more bases, so 25, and hits another home run, and you say he went 25 and 15, that's awesome. That's like great value for where you're getting him. His current ADP is the 17th second baseman. That's
huge value.
The guy I'm going to talk about next, for the guy I don't like, is the 15th for second baseman, and he's going a whole 73 picks before. Like, absolutely ridiculous. Like, I'm so excited about Estrada, and most of all is the multi-position. I am a sucker, especially in a daily deep league. If you can have someone that can play second base, shortstop, outfield, he might even have third base in some. Don't quote me there. He's just someone that I think is going undervalued just because no one knows his name. Like, they don't know who he is because he's on that West. Those West Coast like depth guys are ones that the East Coast bias kind of forgets about, just because they don't watch Giants games and they don't know who their second baseman is.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think, when he came over from the Yankees, the Giants took him from more of a utility role and gave him those everyday at bats. He ran with it. He's got a good approach to the plate. Doesn't strike out a lot at all. He's like top tier of the league in K rate. So, and like you said, that West Coast bias, man, you get a lot of great value on those guys, and let's be honest too, the Giants lineup is just always just full of boringness. Yeah. There's no one flashy on that lineup. Yeah.
Oh,
so he goes under the radar.
He was 260 last year with an OBP of 320. And that's what I mean. Like, the things he doesn't do well, he still contributes in. So it's great. I'm excited about him this year. I think if I'm not going to say he's going to steal 30 bases, but if he does, if you steal 21 bases, you can steal 30. So there we go.
Yeah,
Am I going to every league? No, but maybe.
I think he attempted I think he got caught like 5 times. So he was at least attempting close to 32. So definitely not out of the realm for sure.
And more trust this year because after the year he put in.
And he's leading off for the Giants too right now. So he's going to get those opportunities.
Or no?
What's that?
Is Gabe Kapler still the coach?
I'm not sure.
I'm going to look that up while you talk about your guy so we don't.
All right. I'll jump over to my guy here. Speaking of multiple position eligibility, I'm going with my guy. It pains me because it's a Cardinal, but Brendan Donovan. I could have talked about him on basically any position in these previews, but I feel like second base, with it being as shallow as it is, he deserved to be talked about. That's where I would be playing him if I rostered him, would be at second base. Super utility position player. He's eligible at second, outfield, and depending on where you play, I know Fantrax has him at like third, and I think even shortstop. He came out last year and just really showed out in his rookie season. I finished third in Rookie of the Year last year in the voting, behind like Spencer Strider. It's like, of course. But he's got a great approach at the plate. He always hits for high average. He hit 311 at South Alabama, 285 in the minors. He had 281 last year in his first year in the majors. He gets on base a ton, over like 350, 380, I think last year. Doesn't have a lot of flashy power, but he gets on base. And he's going to drive in runs, and he definitely scores runs. I think he had close to 70 runs scored last year. Just someone that just kind of gets overlooked because he's just like a utility man, just gets kind of pushed all around the diamond. But when he's in there in the lineup, he just produces. He's never had a WRC plus below 100 in his career. Just somebody that I think is similar to Thairo, just gets undervalued. It pains me because I said he's a Cardinal, so it always pains me to promote those guys. But everyone last year kept talking about Nolan Gorman being the rookie for the Cardinals that was going to come up and show out and just produce. But the less known man of Brendan Rodgers was actually one that came up and really produced the Cardinals last year. And I think he should be getting a little bit more love at the second base position.
I'm going to give you a name kind of like this, who I talked about last week, Jake Cronenworth.
Yep.
Like very similar. I don't want to say upbringing because that's not the word. Rise.
Yeah.
Like the guy that's like last one to leave, brings his lunchbox to work, gritty.
Yeah.
He seems like someone that's just like, I'll play anywhere as long as it's in the big leagues and as long as I'm contributing to the team. And I think he's someone that, like Cronenworth, those first year or two, it was a great asset to have, as in because you got him for such cheap. So
right.
Especially in a dynasty league, I think owning Donovan now is great. I've been trying to get him, not working. But hey, I'm excited for him just because he is that dirt dog type guy.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, depending on where he goes in the lineup, he's going to give you either runs or RBIs. Right now, he's slated as the bat fifth. I would like to see him more in that 2-hole. The hit tool and the on-base percentage I think would, warrant better in the second hole versus the fifth hole. I mean, if he's batting fifth, though, he's going to be getting RBIs versus runs. So it's take your pick. But I'm sure they'll push him all over that lineup. But I prefer to see him in the 2-hole. I think would be really suit his skill set the best.
I agree.
All right, let's jump on to the guys we're a little bit lower on. That's kind of funny because your guy was my guy, and we both agree. So go ahead and talk about him a little bit.
We're going to talk about Brandon Drury. Another multi-position guy because second base is an albatross of garbage. I was a Brandon Drury guy when he was on the Diamondbacks 5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
He was like a trendy name, kind of like a Lars Nootbaar of this year. Like that, he was one of those names that everyone was like, oh, watch out, Brandon Drury's power hitting second baseman. Blah, blah, blah. And he wasn't good. He wasn't really good at all. And then last year, he seemed to figure it out with the Reds. And I just don't buy it. It's just a matter of a leopard doesn't lose its spots. We saw what he was. I don't know if I don't believe that he is what he was last year. And now he's with the Angels. I mean, the Angels do nothing for me. They have two of the most exciting players in baseball, but yet you couldn't pay me to really watch an Angels game, mostly because of West Coast stuff. But yeah, I really just don't buy the power we saw last year and the consistency we saw last year either. I wish him the best because he is someone that I once really enjoyed, and he's multi-position guy, which I like. But Jason, he's pretty old now. He's 30. I'm
Yep.
turning 30. So like I'm washed up. So that means he has to be washed up, right?
I mean, a little bit. I think a lot of the, last year with the huge explosion of power, I mean, he was playing in one of the, the second hitter friendliest park in baseball last year. So, I mean, I think you could count a lot of the power to that. I mean, you look at his splits, 12 of his 20 plus home runs came at Great American Ballpark. So I think that may be a little bit product of that ballpark. And I think moving to Los Angeles is definitely going to hurt his power numbers. I think he's kind of a guy that's just like, I think last year was more of an outlier to his career than his overall numbers. I think he's see a lot of regression to the mean. I agree with you. I think he's being highly overvalued right now just because of that great power outsurge he had last year. I definitely see that power numbers falling back down. He'd probably go back to even under 20 home runs in 2023.
But just like I said earlier, he's one of those top 15 second basemen is being drafted right now. And I just don't, I would wait the extra 50 picks and get Estrada.
Yeah, no, I agree. Second base is one of those positions. It's not a whole lot of power to be had. So it's like I'd rather go after power elsewhere and then fill my second base hole with like someone with has speed or on base. You know what I mean? Like I'm not looking to fill my second base position with power just because nobody has power at that position really.
Exactly.
I'm gonna jump over here to my guy. Someone that's seems to be right. Gets a lot of love here. At the second base position is because I think if you put any other position, you don't think you'd be getting the love that he gets. But second base being so a wasteland. I'm talking about Jorge Polanco of the Twins. Had a huge 2021 season. He saw him really come back down to earth last year in 2022. I think the 2022 season was more in line with his career numbers. The batting average fell down 30 points to a career low. 152 total bases was the lowest since 2018. His 405 slugging was a career worst in 2022. He doesn't steal bases. The power can be there at times, very inconsistent year to year. You never know if you're going to get 4 home runs or 15 plus. A lot of times, more times than not, it's more in the range of 4. He plays his games in Minnesota, which is not the greatest hitter-friendly park, especially early in the year, late in the year, very cold. His hard hit rate ranks below league average. Both his whiff and K rate also both rank below league average. I think a lot of times people are ranking this guy within the top 10 of second baseman, which I just don't get. He just doesn't do anything for me. At one point in his career, he was like, oh, you can get him for batting average, but I think those days have passed as well. The batting average has kind of declined over the last few years. Again, last year too. I feel like there was the whole baseball conundrum, right, where we're playing with like the juice balls and non-balls, like non-juice balls. Which balls were we playing with? Not mine, not yours. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not in on Jorge Polanco at that value. That's definitely someone I'm way lower on for second base than most others.
I agree. I was on him last year. The whole Twins team is kind of odd. They have like 1 foot in the water and 1 foot out. Like, how does it feel to be Carlos Correa's 4th choice or 3rd choice? Like,
yeah,
it was such an odd offseason for them. I feel like we've talked about Joey Ryan. I'm excited about him.
Yep.
Jose Miranda, I think, could have a big year for him and for the team. But Polanco is kind of like one of those guys. I'm like, I don't know. Like, what's the deal with Royce Lewis? Like, he very well could be playing second base for them. And then Polanco gets shifted somewhere else or gets traded. he's someone that I don't know if I truly would want currently, like in like a redraft or like a dynasty startup. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah, the Twins, for whatever reason, it seems like they get this big glob of guys, and once they get to the majors, they all kind of just falter away, right? I mean, even look at the guys. I know, like a lot of it's injury issues, but there's just guys that come to this team and they just kind of, I don't know, they kind of just falter when they get into the majors.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So fade Jorge Polanco. Let's jump over to prospects now. Get into your guy first here. Not much tells about him.
First year player draft.
Yeah,
that's where all my research comes from.
Hey, put some names, some guys on these names that are coming into the, some guys may not have their first year player draft yet. So
yeah, that's true.
Let them know.
I found out from him from Chris Clegg. He tweeted about him during my first year player draft. So I was like, oh, I'll just keep a tickler on him, whatever he is. So what the tweet was talking about what he's doing in Australia. He's in the Australian Winter League, or I think that's what they call it. I don't know. Okay. But he hit for 294, on base percentage of 378, hit 8 home runs in 40 games, stole 14 bases. He's 5'9". Comes from Arkansas. He was the 72nd overall pick from the Brewers. And he's just a guy that I think is going undervalued. I took him in the 5th round of my draft, I think, or 4th round. And that's where you need to hit on guys for you to get a good ROI, just because everyone can draft at the top of the draft. The top 10 is done for you on the internet. Where the real acumen, I guess, the scouting acumen.
Thanks Dylan.
Oh, jinx. Jason. But Rob Moore, I'm excited just because he's that college bat. He's still only 20 years old. I feel like when you see college bats, they're a little bit older just because they've been drafted before, so they waited out. But he's 5'9", maybe a little Dustin Pedroia. I don't know. He's small. But he can hit the ball and he gets on base. So ideally he does that when he's not in Australia. And I feel like we might see him in Double-A because he is advanced in since he is 20. So he's seen the caliber of pitching you see in single Double-A. But we'll see.
Yeah, no, good call. I think you're right. I think, he's someone that's going to get at least, and he went to college, he played college ball, so I think he'll definitely start the year at Double-A after a little bit of, Single A last year.
Yes.
Now, before we get into my guy, we got a live question here actually from Dylan, our guy Dylan. He wants to know if we believe Nico Horner will be fantasy relevant player this season.
Dylan,
and
of course.
I mean, come on, I'm talking about my Cubbies here. Yeah, absolutely. He's going to slide over to second, so now he's going to get that. If he doesn't already, I think he might already have second base eligibility. I think
I don't have it in the places I own him.
It depends, but
it all depends. Yes,
but by May he'll be second eligible.
He's so good. So if we were to do a breakout portion, I think Nico would be my breakout, but you would probably take him, so I'd let you take him.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, he's got a great approach at the plate. Gets on base. Doesn't strike out a lot. It's basically what you're looking for, and like we were talking about earlier, second base is so shallow. I would like to see him, put a little bit more power in the bat if he's got it. That's I think his biggest downfall right now. It's just the power numbers aren't there. I think it can be consistent at bats. I think will also help out with that too. So absolutely, Nico Horner. I don't know what his ADP is right now, but I think right now that post hype sleeper in Dynasty though. I mean, that's a great post-hype sleeper prospect.
I love Dansby for him, too. Just getting someone that is – because Dansby's still young.
Yeah.
He's under 30. Having that presence – because Dansby does know how to hit if he decides to on that given day. And just that veteran presence, I think, will be huge for just the Cubs in general because they haven't had someone like that in a while, like a star-ish player.
Oh, trust me, man. I am all ready to finally get back to watching Cubs baseball. Hopefully, knock on wood, meaningful Chicago Cubs baseball.
I think so. I think they're going to be frisky.
I think so too.
They won't be World Series, but they'll be frisky.
No, I think they have a chance to push 500 for sure.
Yeah,
they can play defense like the way they're promoting
yeah.
the pitching too. So to be determined. Well, I guess we'll see. And I'm going to jump over to my prospect now before we get out of here, and I'm going to talk about a guy that's probably you called me on it last time, but I'm thinking this guy might be a little bit more lesser known.
I don't know who this is.
See, you gave me a bunch of hijinks just last week for the Tink Hens, but so we're gonna go with Brett Wisely. If the name sounds familiar, it's because last year, I don't know if you guys people follow baseball too closely, but near the end of the year, the Rays had like 7 guys that were going to be that needed to be added to their 40-man roster, or they were Rule 5 eligible. So they went off and just traded off like I think it was like 5 of the 7 guys, and he happened to be one of them. I don't think you never want to look at a guy that the Rays trade away, right? Because their player development is just insane. But it was more of a stipulation on they couldn't keep him. If they wanted to, they probably would have kept him, but they just couldn't. I mean, right now, he is going to get an extended look in spring training this year. He spent most of the time last year at Double-A. He slashed 273, 371, slugged 461. He had 15 home runs and 31 stolen bases. So that the stolen bases obviously number really jump off the page. He had 372 WOBA. When you look at his time in the Southern League last year, which Drury spent most of his time was in the Southern League at Double-A. He had 198 total bases, which ranked as the 3rd best in the Southern League. His 31 stolen bases were the 8th most. And he also had a league-leading 84 runs scored. And he appeared in almost lesser games than most of the other guys at the top of that list. So he's definitely somebody that's kind of catapulting up lists. He's now, unfortunately, on the Giants, which obviously might actually benefit him a little bit more, but I don't know. There's a lot of roadblocks. We just talked about Thairo Estrada earlier. A little bit more blockage in there for him, but I think he could compete and even make the opening day roster this year out of spring training. I think, he's someone that's not the flashy prospect. He doesn't have a lot of prospect pedigree with him, but he's proven along the way that, he can hit, he can, get on base, he can steal bases, a little bit of pop, maybe to be worked down a little bit. But hey, when you're talking about second baseman, again, the power numbers just aren't there for second baseman. So
yeah, that's a good one. I'll have to write that name down. I'm sure everyone knows who he is, but I don't. So
well, he's available in 30 Rock. So if you're looking for one of those late round flyers. Maybe 30 Rock is the top 5 rounds are actually almost done. I may actually get to pick again.
Well, yeah, maybe I'll be picking soon. That'll be fun. And maybe next week we'll talk about a player that I sniped from you in 30 Rock. Because what position are we doing? Oh no,
shortstop. We're doing shortstops next week.
Never mind.
next week. Where we're coming up on wrap up. We only got a few more positions left. So I think we'll figure out what we're gonna do after that. But position previews continue for now, and then draft season will be here. And we're in Dynasty, so right now first year player drafts are going on, but maybe we'll get into some redraft content here in the middle of March.
Yeah, maybe we can talk. So next week starts TGFBI for us. Maybe we can go over that a little bit. I know I need some information because you probably know more than I do regarding that. So
yeah, we could definitely talk about some TGFBI drafts that are starting up next week.
About it.
Yeah, absolutely. Something to look forward to, guys.
Yeah, man. Lucky you.
All right, Nick.
See you, buddy.
See you, man.